Welcome back here in the Cadence Weather Center right now. Today is May 28, 2025. We're continuing to pay attention here to a couple of things. Right now, we're obviously seeing that severe weather threat that is continuing on currently right now across parts of the United States here, stretching from the middle plains all the way into New Orleans here in Louisiana. We're seeing that in Texas as well. We're going to be mostly talking about here the tropical depression that has now formed in the Eastern Pacific, their first ever tropical system of the hurricane season for them. The Atlantic has yet anything to come, no areas of interest, but possibility for something here according to some of the models. And we're going to be mostly paying attention here to the state of Florida and their Florida Peninsula on the potential for some pretty big rainfall and heavy rainfall to come to the state of Florida here in the next week or two. So let's kind of jump into it right now. What are we looking at here currently? On this map, well, we can currently see, still for the Atlantic, nothing expected right now here in the next 7 days. We'll see if that changes. The Eastern Pacific, we have Tropical Depression 1E that has now formed here. The storm is moving northwest at 9 miles an hour, not moving very quickly here. 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds. The cone, not expected to become any hurricane or anything like that. Definitely Tropical Depression by the time it meets the western part of Mexico here. And we're going to be seeing that kind of bring probably some of that heavy rainfall and maybe some riptide currents kind of heading into eastern Mexico. And we'll kind of take a look at that here pretty shortly. But majority of it, kind of the storm is just really big spread out right now, so very not organized at all. That's why it took a little bit for it to be issued as a tropical depression there. But we're anticipating it to, National Hurricane Center is anticipating it to become a tropical storm probably by later tonight, maybe even later tomorrow. And that storm will obviously continue moving off to the northwest before pulling up to the north. And this is the first tropical system here of the Eastern Pacific. Now let's head on over here to the Atlantic side, because some of the models have been really showing some possibility for something forming here in the next week or two. And we could be possibly seeing some tropical development, especially in this general region right here. So this could be the main area that we possibly see our tropical development. The storm predictions, or not the Storm Prediction Center, but the NOAA is predicting possibly an area in this general area to kind of form here probably in the next week or two. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Right now, as you can see, according to the satellite as of right now, a lot of thunderstorm activity continuing on over here in the Western Gulf. A lot of thunderstorm activity starting over here in the Florida Peninsula as well as Cuba, but not much going on right here in the Caribbean, and we're not seeing very much happening as of right now, but that could possibly change here as we look at some of these models and kind of what they are saying and what kind of trends they've been looking at here. So we're going to take a look here at the GFS first. So we can currently see 6 hours out here, 2 p.m. right now. So this is the 12Z model. So this is the latest GFS model here. You can obviously see not too much going on here. The date and time is up here in the right corner here. This is June 2nd. So we're going to be seeing this storm. Not very much going on over here. The Gulf seems to be clearing out according to the GFS. The high pressure will build over here over the United States, the eastern part of the United States here. This will continue. And then we possibly could see by June 6th here, 215 hours out, we could possibly be seeing another tropical system here according to the GFS out in the Eastern Pacific. But then you definitely want to watch down here, because this storm could possibly get pulled up to the north, or it could go off to the west here. It all depends on this high pressure that is right here. That could cause the storm either to push more to the west, or if there's a little bit more of a easier high pressure, it's not as strong, it could get more pulled to the north. And we've been seeing back and forth here. The GFS 12, the 12Z run really didn't have any formed low as it did from the last previous runs, kind of brought it over Cuba and brought it out into the Atlantic, as that high pressure will not be there at this time on June 9th here. And we kind of can see that, and it gets wrapped into a front there. And then, possibly something. We saw a little low pressure kind of form right there. But I mean, we've been seeing different scenarios here from the GFS. If we go to earlier this morning here, the GFS obviously still once again bringing a storm in the Eastern Pacific, but brings a low pressure system right here over Cuba by June 12th. So farther out here, it just depends. Do we think the storm is going to form? The GFS, very bad on the timing right now. And we, obviously we have nothing marked by the National Hurricane Center. The Euro model really saying no development is possible, or really anything. Definitely maybe some rainfall, but really is not showing anything big. Now, if we go to the ensembles, it'll show something completely different, but we'll get to that here in a second. But the Euro model really not showing a lot of rain or anything like that. High pressure's off to the east here, so that could draw some storm up to the north. But big question still on the table for even the Euro model as we're continuing on. So this is the Euro ensembles here. What are we looking at with the Euro ensembles? Obviously not expecting anything for the first couple of days of June here, and then we start getting into, maybe the 6, 7, so June 7th, we could be seeing some possibility of some low pressures kind of forming down here in the Western Caribbean. And then obviously big question is where does it go next? No matter what, we could possibly be seeing some moisture go somewhere to bring that heavier rain. The GFS model, you can definitely kind of see, it's going to pull up those low pressures down there in the Caribbean, and then we see a very spread out. I mean, we're completely spread out here. We have some, and I want to bring up this really quickly here because this is actually my first time looking at the GFS ensembles as well. It seems like the more of the westward motion, the more weaker the storm could possibly be. With the more northern motion, could be more of the stronger storms here. So that could be something to pay attention to. Obviously, this is still very far out, so we don't have any exact thing on this storm right now. But we're going to get to the total accumulation here. Our biggest thing for the state of Florida is the rainfall. We're going to get to that here shortly. This is the GFS ensembles here on Tropical Tidbits. We're going to take a look at this right now. This is going to be the area that you want to pay attention to for any formation right in this area. And when you see the yellowish orange, that is indicating a tropical system. And all of these orange numbers that you will see, that's all different different parts of the GFS model that are pulling up a possible system here. So it's just a bunch of models, grouped into one here. But you can see, obviously, here by June 3rd, June 4th, you can see by June 5th over here, the GFS bringing something really in the Eastern Pacific. Maybe some spots going on right here in the Western Central Caribbean as well. Then we start to see some of these storms. We see some of them going off to the west. We see kind of some of them going off to the east here. There's that high pressure, very strong over there. That's the Bermuda High. We're going to keep an eye on that. June 7th, so still very far out here. Then you take a look here at the GFS ensembles as we go on. And we see some of them really start to pop up over here, either over Cuba or even just west of Cuba here between the Yucatan and Cuba. And, one of the models saying Louisiana. Now, once again, this doesn't mean that this is going to happen. So if you live in Louisiana and you're thinking this is going to happen, most likely it will not. This is going to change. But the GFS bringing it pretty close here to the west coast of Florida, that would bring a lot of the, and look at that, I mean, that's just crazy, but we know how the GFS is. So, different scenarios here, bringing some of that over here, some over here, some over here. There's a bunch of scenarios at this time where we don't exactly have any general idea from one of these, either model right now, especially how far out it is. But if it continues to move up the, if it hugs the west coast of Florida and does form into something, since it's not, obviously hurricane season exactly, or it's major hurricane season, we're not going to see any major hurricane, but a lot of moisture will probably be more on the eastern side of this system, and possibly that's the reason why we could be seeing a potential for some heavy rainfall. And once again, we'll talk about what the Storm Prediction Center thinks about that here shortly. But taking a look at the Euro ensembles, these have changed a lot more here. A lot more kind of with these Euro ensembles here on Tropical Tidbits, a lot more bringing it more kind of where the GFS is bringing it here, more closer to the western coast of Florida, with still, once again, that moisture will probably be going into the Florida Peninsula and bringing that. And I can tell you right now, Florida definitely does need it, as how hot everyone's been there, and just, just the environment there has been pretty crazy. But the Euro ensemble is kind of picking up on the GFS, but once again does not mean anything that could possibly be, just something major right now at this time to be paying attention to. So still watch it just in case, but I would really not pay attention too much about it right now. Taking a look here at the GFS, what are we looking at with the possible rain forecast? Well, we can clearly see the heaviest rain staying more off to the south here of Florida. That could possibly reach up into the 5 to 12 inches of rain, and some spots here locally heavy rain as well. Heading into the early morning, less amount of rain here. Heading to 6Z, more rain to the Florida Peninsula here. So we've been having a lot of these mixed kind of signals from both of these models here of South Florida and then, the whole Florida Peninsula. And that's been really one of the biggest things from the GFS. Taking a look at the Euro, a little different here, not as much rain here, and you can see that. Still some areas of southern Florida could get it. A lot of rain over here in the United States, stretching from Texas all the way up over here into Tennessee, maybe even Kentucky and West Virginia. And that's going to be something that we want to pay attention to as well. And that could be a future video on that one. But then you head to the early morning 00Z, brings a little bit more rain to the Florida Peninsula, while there's not as much over here. So very big questions obviously still on the table. This, it's just bouncing back and forth, and that's something that we're continuing to pay attention to. But what I will say is models are picking up on something possibly forming here in the Atlantic or the Caribbean and pushing up to the north, northwest, northeast. It all depends, but we're still seeing a pretty good model agreement of possibly something forming at this time. But right now, let's take a look at this. So this is what I want to really pay attention to. Southern Florida, heavy rainfall right here. And let me zoom in really quick. So heavy rain could possibly be in this area because of the tropical moisture that could be heading up from this tropical, system that could possibly form here. But no matter what, regardless of any development, if this storm, still continues to pay attention to what the tracks are doing or the model runs, it could still bring that heaviest rain. And that's what the Storm Prediction Center is saying here for June 2nd and June 4th, that we could be seeing a lot of, rainfall kind of happening in kind of just Naples or Cape Coral area down to the Keys here. Something to continue to pay attention to very closely, and we're going to watch that as well as we continue on throughout the rest of, the couple weeks coming up, and, the next week or two, we're going to watch and just to see what happens. But right now we don't have, too much going on. We obviously have the severe weather threat, but right now we're going to, this video mostly talking about the possibility for some major flooding here in southern Florida. Right now we'll continue tomorrow I'll have a new update probably on the severe weather threat, as well as a little update on the tropics, as well as we're starting to get into that season. But I hope you guys all have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow my X page down in the description for more information or any updates here. If you do have any questions as well, make sure to leave it in down in the comments. I will try to respond to them as fast as possible and as to the best I possibly can. But I thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Stay safe out there, and bye bye.